All right, so as we finish things up here in the 2020 first round Stanley Cup playoffs previews, we're heading in the Eastern Conference as we take a look at a first round rematch in the Eastern Conference as we take a look at the number 2 Tampa Bay Lightning as they take on the number 9 Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll be taking a look at the line matchups, the head-to-head matchup between the two teams, how they have done recently, and of course, my predictions at the end of the video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Let's take a look at this Eastern Conference rematch between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay, so we have a rematch of last year's first round. John Tortorella's old team that he used to coach. He won a Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning back in the day. And just the fact that this series is happening again. I mean, it's going to be an interesting playoffs here, and this is one of the matchups that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on. Now, you remember last season, the Tampa Bay Lightning, from January till the end of the season, going into the playoffs, they were kind of on vacation mode. They kind of just breezed through the second half of the NHL season. They won the President's Trophy, best team in the NHL by far, one of the top 10 most points in a regular season. They were destined to go on a strong and hopefully long playoff run. Well, unfortunately, they got up against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who had to fight to get in a playoff spot on the last day of the regular season, and they ended up sweeping the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, will the Tampa Bay Lightning get their revenge on the Columbus Blue Jackets, or will John Tortorella's defensive mindset team there in Columbus be too much to handle for John Cooper's group there in Tampa Bay? So, let's take a look at this. So, you look at these two teams have done so far in the return to play plan, and the round robin series went pretty solid for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were a -1 goal differential. They went 2-1, so they did, they won more than they lost. They were second out of the top 4 teams, but only behind the Philadelphia Flyers there in the Eastern Conference. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning looked pretty solid going into this series. The big issue, though, and I like the Tampa Bay Lightning, so this hurts. But now you've got Steven Stamkos out of the lineup, who's been out of the lineup, since before the pandemic. He's been out for a while. And then the other night, it seemed like Victor Hedman tripped over the blue line, skating backwards, and it definitely looked like an ankle injury or something like that. And he was pretty visibly upset as he left the ice because he was only a couple of shifts. He was only a couple of shifts into that game, and he was out for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So now the Tampa Bay Lightning are without Victor Hedman and Steven Stamkos. And those are huge, huge pieces that the Tampa Bay Lightning have lost here going into this series. Meanwhile, you have the Columbus Blue Jackets, who just had a roller coaster, I think that's understating it, series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where it was back and forth pretty much every game. And then in Game 4, it looked like the Blue Jackets were going to come home. They were going to win this series. They were up 3-0 late in the third. And then the Maple Leafs tied the game, and Austin Matthews won it in overtime. But then the Columbus Blue Jackets were able to, play their game, and they were able to force the Leafs. They really couldn't, the Leafs had some opportunities, but the Leafs just weren't able to get past that Blue Jackets defense that was just so good throughout the series. And the Columbus Blue Jackets ended up shutting out the Leafs 3-0 in Game 5. So you may be saying, well, you're kind of doing a review of last series. And I did that on purpose because I see a lot of correlation between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning's defense is obviously better than the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it's similar styles of play. It's a very run-and-gun play, and I think that favors, if we're going to see these teams going back and forth and speed game and skill game, it's going to be Tampa Bay, no doubt. But if the Columbus Blue Jackets do what they just did against the Toronto Maple Leafs, this is going to be an interesting series. And I got to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the Columbus Blue Jackets won this series, and we'll be looking at that in my prediction. So now you look at the matchup. They only played each other once this season. It was back in February. It was a 2-1 overtime victory for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, these teams are pretty close. And I think looking at the score, I think if we're looking at this series, and I relate the Columbus Blue Jackets a lot to the New York Islanders. They remind me a lot of the Islanders in a lot of different ways. And the one being, they don't have the most, the most skill in the league. And I think we can all agree on that. But the coaching style from John Tortorella forces them to play a dump and chase, make it difficult for your opponent, and frustrate them. And they did that against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think they can do that again in this series. Now, the big thing here for the Columbus Blue Jackets is you need Joonas Korpisalo to do what he has been able to do. And I think now that Elvis Merzlikins is now injured, I think that's a huge opportunity for him to really get things going. And now he has an opportunity here in this playoffs. He regained his starting role in this, at the end of this series, and he will get the start more than likely in game 1 for this one. So, I think it comes down to, for the Columbus Blue Jackets, it's got to be, you got to, avoid penalties. I think that's the big thing. If you can frustrate the Tampa Bay Lightning, force them, get guys like Kucherov or Braden Point or Sergachev, get them on their edges a little bit, get them thinking. I think that could be huge for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Frustrate and get in the heads of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think John Cooper's group is going to be ready to go right off the bat. If they aren't, they're going to be in for a bloodbath. They need to be able to hit back. I think guys like Sergachev are going to be huge for that. Guys like Alex Killorn up front, they've got to be able to get back at the Columbus Blue Jackets. Nick Foligno, Boone Jenner. Boone Jenner had a heck of a series last series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was outworking the Leafs. He was always in the corners, really good forechecking. I think that could be a huge issue for the Tampa Bay Lightning. A guy like Boone Jenner could be really difficult to play against. Nick Foligno, like I said, looked really good. That guy Liam Foudy, who got to score a goal in Toronto for the game winner, so that was pretty good. So those guys look really solid right now in Columbus. Not to mention that blue line between Zach Werenski and Seth Jones, probably one of the best defensive pairings right now in the NHL, one of the best shutdown pairings. I think that's going to be an issue for the Tampa Bay Lightning's top guys. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be facing guys like Werenski and Jones through a lot of this series. I think it could be an interesting matchup. And then, like I said, goaltenders, I really like the Tampa Bay Lightning's Andrei Vasilevskiy, but he struggled a little bit in his time in the round robin, and Korpisalo had his moments as well. So we're going to have to wait and see how that works out. I think that's going to be a huge factor in the series. But like I said, if the Blue Jackets stay out of the box, as long as they keep the score, if they win, we're going to see if the Blue Jackets are going to win this series, they have to do what they did against the Leafs. You got to win games 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-2. The lower the scoring, it favors the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that means they're playing their game. I think that's going to be huge for this series. So who do I have winning this series now? That's an interesting question. And this is tough. This is honestly, you would think the number 2 seed against the number 9, it's obviously the Tampa Bay Lightning. What are you talking about? No, I'm going for the upset. I'm going for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think the Columbus Blue Jackets upset the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games. Based off of what they just did against the Toronto Maple Leafs, based off of what we've seen from Korpisalo at points, as long as he can stay consistently good in this series and he doesn't crumble, Joonas Korpisalo, this is going to be a really good series. I think both teams will get very chippy early on. I think there's going to be a lot of hitting, kind of like we saw in the beginning of the series between the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers. I think right off the bat we're going to see big hits, big opportunities for scoring. But I think as long as Tortorella is able to settle his team down, they play their game, it's going to be a heck of a road ahead for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think the Blue Jackets get things done in 7 games. So comment down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.